Hello and welcome back, adventurers, to another episode of Underdark Cellars. On today's episode, we are making Tavern steak from the Hero's Feast. Let's dive right in and get started. So we're actually going to start by working on our olive and fig sauce by taking 6 dried figs, removing the stems, and soaking them in a cup of boiling water and setting that aside to soften for about 15 minutes. Now let's work on our dill and yogurt sauce by combining some dill pickle relish, minced shallot, fresh dill, and plain Greek yogurt in a bowl. We're also going to add salt and pepper to taste, so we'll mix it up, taste, and adjust seasoning, and then we're going to let that set in the fridge for a little bit and let those flavors combine until we're ready to use it. Continuing our fig and olive sauce, in a food processor, we're going to put our rinsed and drained Kalamata olives, our rinsed and drained capers, our garlic, our thyme, and our lemon juice, and we are going to pulse this or blend this until it comes together in the nice chopped mix, and then we're going to stream in 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, scrape down the sides, and blend again until we get a consistency that we're happy with. I just wanted the olive oil to be more evenly distributed. And then we're going to transfer this to a bowl and add in our chopped figs. Now, I made a mistake here. I did not finely chop, I just chopped. So we're going to go ahead and toss those in, and we're going to mix this together and let it sit while we work on our meat. Okay, so for the meat mix itself, we need 1 small yellow onion. I had a large one, used half of it, finely chopped, along with 7 cloves of garlic, finely chopped, and 1.5 tablespoons of finely chopped fresh thyme. We're going to put that aside and then check in on the fig and olive sauce that we had made earlier. And we're just going to give this a taste test after everything has had a chance to kind of marinate together, adjust for seasoning, and it was a titch on the bitter side for me. It was very, very bitter. So I added some of the reserved fig soaking water to kind of balance that out a bit, and it helped a lot. So we're going to mix this together, set it back in the fridge, and let's get cooking. Alright, so in a medium pan over medium-high heat, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of olive oil and our onion, and we're going to cook that down for about 4 minutes until it's nice and golden and softened, and then we're going to add in our garlic and our thyme. Cook that for another minute until the garlic is nice and fragrant, and then once that is cooked, we are going to pull this from the heat and let it cool. Okay, so the recipe calls for 12 ounces of ground lamb and 12 ounces of ground beef chuck. However, I don't like having extra raw meat just sitting in my fridge, so I use the full 16 ounces of ground lamb, and I've matched that with 16 ounces of ground beef chuck. To that mix, I added in my onions, garlic, and thyme that we had cooked earlier, along with salt and pepper. Now, you cannot taste to season here, so just kind of eyeball it. I went with about 1.5 teaspoons of both salt and pepper, and then I'm going to mash that together with my hands until everything is evenly integrated and we have a nice patty mixture. Once that's done, I'm going to start shaping these. Now, the recommended size is about 6 ounces, 6-ounce portions. So we're going to form a patty roughly 4 inches across. However, because I did increase the amount of meat, I made more than 4 burgers, or 4 patties rather. I ended up making 6, making sure they're evenly sized. Let's cook these guys. So in a grill pan over medium-high heat, I am going to wait until the pan gets very, very hot, and then I'm going to put down a layer of duck fat to help with sticking, because this is cast iron. So things might stick a little bit. And then once that's like melted in, I'm going to put down the lamb and beef patties, pressing them down ever so slightly, and we're going to cook for about 4 minutes on the first side before we flip. And you'll see that the patties have darker char marks towards the inside of the pan, and that's because I'm using an induction burner, so the heat's really going to be focused in the center. So I'm just going to rotate them around and make sure that everything can get a chance to brown. And then once that cooks for about 6 minutes, I'm going to flip it back over. You'll see it looks a lot more even. Cook it for just another like 90 seconds or so until it reaches 130 degrees Fahrenheit, and then I'm going to remove that from the heat and plate. All right, to plate this, I chose a piece of toasted sourdough. I topped that with some of the Dill-Yogurt Sauce, put the patty on top of that, and then put the fig and olive spread on top of that. Now, it was pretty good. I do have a couple thoughts about this, so let's dive into final thought. Okay, let's discuss final thoughts. There's a lot going on here, so we're gonna break this down into each individual component, and let's start with the black olive and fig sauce. So the black olive and fig sauce I really enjoyed. I think it can be prepared a couple days ahead of time. It'll sit in the fridge pretty well. You can store it in the jar that you got your olives in, which is great. I will say that I thought that chopping the figs didn't really do much for me texturally. I prefer my sauces to be pretty cohesive, so having a finely minced like blend of olives and capers and garlic and thyme, and then having like larger chunks of fig was a little off-putting to me. So I think I would blend the figs in with everything else in the food processor. As long as they're soaked, I don't think it would change anything. So that's the big one for the figs. Let's move on to the dill yogurt sauce. So the dill yogurt sauce to me read off-brand, great value tzatziki. I think I'd just rather have like authentically made tzatziki. I understand that like grating the cucumber, draining things, that takes a lot of time, but I think the texture would have been better. I did not enjoy the sweetness in the relish and how that influenced everything here. I prefer my quote dill yogurt sauces on the savory side. I do think that the vinegariness in the pickle relish helped overall, but I think that could have been done with some lemon juice traditionally. Again, I think just authentic tzatziki is the way to go. Last up is the heart of the dish, the meat of it all, the Tavern steak. So the Tavern steak was fine. I think I would have preferred more seasoning. I am a seasonings gal. Some oregano would have gone a long way in this. I also think some dried mint would have done really well in this. Mint pairs exceptionally well with lamb. Lamb is half of the protein in this meat patty, so I think it would have gone really, really well. It would have elevated the flavor palette more than just salt and pepper would. And look, season your food. Please actually season your food. Seasonings are fantastic. They are tasty. They make things taste better. Just use seasonings in your food, please. Just season your food. On the other hand, I do feel that this recipe would be fabulous for meal prep. You could make the meat patties into meatballs to get more servings out, and you could, it's easier to transport for lunches or late dinners. You don't have to worry about the bread getting soggy. You can serve this with a nice grain like some quinoa or barley. Ugh, I love barley. But this would be a really great way to do meal prep. So the question is, will I make this again? Maybe. If I do, I will probably make this into meatballs to serve with some grain and whole veggies, and not just on a piece of toast. And then I think the other thing is I will just tweak the seasonings. It needed more. It wasn't enough for me. But that might be a personal preference. I just really prefer my food seasoned, so, you know. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching, adventurers. If you liked what you saw, please smash that like button. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe. We do all things food and fantasy here at Underdark Cellars, and ring that bell for notifications so you know when new videos go live. And if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. I love to hear from you. I'm happy to chat with you and answer any questions you have to the best of my ability. Well, thank you so much, adventurers, for sticking around. Please be sure to take care of yourselves today, do something nice for someone else, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.